Welcome, good afternoon. Welcome to the Let's Talk Business Coaching with me, Dave Holland. We've got Laura. Good to see Laura. We've got Kev. We've got Gareth as well. A couple of the numbers down this week because people are on holiday, that sort of thing. Talking about workshops, delivering a workshop, a seminar. I think it's something that's come to the fore over the last 18 months during the lockdown, certainly. But I think in my experience, a lot of successful coaches tend to be, good on stage. And a little bit later on in the call, I'm going to ask Laura to explain her pineapple story, which she knows what I mean there. But anyway, but coaches that are good on stage tend to get good visibility, good community. They get good clients, and being able to put a good workshop together is a skill and a gift as well. So, Gareth, I know you do quite a few workshops, via Zoom and everything now, but also live ones when you can. What's your experience of workshops and seminars in your neck of the woods?
Well, I think it's a difficult one because as a coach just starting out, and you get told to put on loads of seminars and workshops and stuff like that, and the amount of workshops and seminars that I put on where one person turned up or three people turned up or something, and it's quite easy to get down about it. I think what you learn is having a great process to be able to make sure that the maximum amount of people turn up. Because I was doing free seminars, which is a mistake, by the way. Don't ever do free seminars. Always get people to buy, even if it's just £10. You'll be amazed at the difference in the show rate. So I think that's the first thing. Never do a free seminar. But also, I was getting 30 people sign up, but 3 people turning up.
Absolutely.
Which is just horrendous, and it's soul destroying. And I think what I learned really early on is to have a really good process in order to get people in the seat. So, for example, when somebody signed up, they got an email and they immediately book a call with me, right? I want to have a call before the workshop with them. Just a 10-minute call. And I've developed a really good script for that, which was something along the lines of, so what do you want to take away from the workshop? I'll always ask that question, right? And it didn't matter what they said, because the next thing I said was always the same, which was, funny you should say that. I'm going to be spending about 20 minutes. It's going to be a real good investment for you to come along, right? And then I just have to make sure that whatever they said, I worked it into the presentation in some way, shape, or form, which was never a problem because it always did come up. So I wasn't lying. Your
Wi-Fi is still playing up, I think. Does everybody else?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Is it just me? Laura, Kev, can you see? No. You're bouncing in and out. I mean, you look gorgeous when you're with us, but it's freezing and all sorts of things. The voice is wobbling a bit.
I'll stop talking then.
Just do by sign language, you'll be fine. But so I think we were based out of Newport in Shropshire when we first started out 20 years ago. And we did, or somebody's messaging me, somebody's trying to get into the call. 1 second, just in case. Oh no, somebody. And we booked this. We followed this system, as you said, book a room, get 20 people in the room, do a presentation, do a seminar, all this sort of thing. So we booked little tea rooms in Newport, beautiful little place, and we got about 25 people signed up, ready to come. We bought sandwiches and tea. The whole thing was set. We were there, and nobody turned up. Like, there's nobody turned up. And so eventually we did the presentation to the gal who owned the tea rooms, the waiting staff that we had to pay for the night. They turned up, their boyfriends turned up, and we got a couple of mates to come along. We had about 8 people there in the end, and we did it. But yeah, getting people to the workshop is probably the reason most people don't do them. And like yourself, we tend to charge, and we'll do a Zoom one. It's not quite so bad, but we charge for it. And we will then prove out, we do the pre-qualification to get them there. And we would typically get, I want to get sort of 15, 20 people in a workshop to get the energy in the room, pretty much. No more than that, actually. 15, 20 people is fine. But you say marketing it, get them into the subject area, and then hold them in. But we would get a client every workshop we did, we get a client from it pretty much. So it is worth doing it as a sort of learning process.
I think if my Wi-Fi can hold up.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go. You're doing well.
This point, but knowing your numbers is key. So that was a similar thing I had, was 15 people in the room, one client, easy, right? So I just had to make sure I got 15 people in the room, right? And anything over that was a bonus, really. But that was my focus, but because I knew the numbers, it was pretty easy for me to work to that. And I think that's really key. You don't just do a workshop and just walk away at the end of it. No. Like, that doesn't happen.
No,
like,
that's not the idea, is it?
Oh, I'm coming to a workshop, I'm going to get sold to. Yeah. Oh, I'm am I going to get sold to? Yeah, damn right, you're going to get sold to. Like, I've put lunch on, right? It's like, so I think it's absolutely fine. You do it in the right way, but as long as you know your numbers, that is absolutely key.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm going to ask Kev to jump in, only because I think Kev's Wi-Fi is probably a little bit stronger than yours, I think. So Kev, you do lots of workshops, seminars and events. What's your guys' experience? Well, how do you find it?
Well, we haven't done the phone call, so perhaps it's something we should add. Okay. But we do get drop off. We've had 100 sign up for it, and we've had 20, 25 on the day. But I'm finding, since lockdown, I'm having more success with webinars than I did on the stage.
Right.
In workshops, we've signed 5 clients from our last 2.
Yeah.
So prior to that, it was probably, you might get 1 client from each workshop. And the thing is that I'm finding the webinars much more leveraged. It's an hour and a quarter as opposed to 4 hours. So and I don't have to pay for food. I don't have to feed people, so that's a much better experience. I'll definitely be thinking about adding this phone call in, though, and particularly using Gareth's script, because that seems like a pretty good idea.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and when you
only
do
a pretty good idea, Gareth. Only a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's not that good. Yeah, don't start him off. For goodness sake, don't start him off. And I mean, and Laura, for you, I know you're sort of not just starting out, but you're building and developing your practice. Are workshops and seminars something for you to build into the mix, do you think? Or you're on mute. There we go.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I would love to.
Yeah.
I like to present and be on stage. Even you alluded to that. Although I would think to start off with webinars, it's being accepted right now. It works. It's cheaper. It's easier.
Yeah.
And I guess it's if you put all the effort in for 20 people, only 2 rock up. If it's just a video, then I guess the disappointment is not as great. And if you have this, you spend money on a hall and nobody's there. So I can totally see the value, also because the energy of the people within them, they add to it all. So
absolutely. I think it's something that I think it's 2 things from a coach point of view, puts us into expert position on stage at the front of the room. We are the focus of attention, and providing we give good value, not just like Gareth was saying, are we going to sell to people in the room? Well, yeah, of course we are, but we sell, I think, by giving value, by giving ideas and tips, and then we allow people to buy afterwards. I've been to a few, and I go to other people's seminars and workshops because I want to see what they're up to and learn their techniques and tips and tricks. I would say the ones I've been to, without naming any names, 90% of them are absolute garbage. They're rubbish. They don't start on time. They're disorganized. They don't have the audio right. They don't have it's just all over the place. The content sucks, and it's all just made up on the spot, and there's no preparation for it. They're terrible. Whereas you get somebody who's actually prepared, and there are a few of those out there, when they have a proper theme, they have, here's 5 things we're going to talk about in terms of whatever it's going to be. You walk out with some check sheet, you get some value, then you don't mind, going along with it. But most of the seminars, workshops, and webinars, because anybody can do it now. Too many people do, in my opinion, and I think we can really step aside from being, keep our brand intact by delivering a good, solid product. It's engaging and bright and informative. There's definitely a market for that, I would have thought. So, but yeah, it's definitely worth persevering with, I think.
Well, I completely agree. And as you were saying it, I actually thought maybe it's a good opportunity because people are zoomed out. We're just yes, whilst it's good having this, at the same time, people are desperate to meet other people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So maybe
I
this
think
is
so.
actually the right thing to put that in the marketing mix as well.
Yeah.
Meet like-minded people you haven't seen for months.
Absolutely,
Years by
yeah.
now.
No, we've got.
And that will be. Yeah.
We're doing our first one in September in the UK. It's not a plug, by the way, but we're back on stage. We've booked the place. We've got people signing up for it, which is great. And I think what we're going to do, though, and this is just out of interest, I'll value your thoughts, is when we do the Zoom workshops, they're very, a bit of content, bit of breakout, interactive, fun and engaging. I think it's going to be the same format for the workshops. And I think the days of, 4-hour presentations, but followed by with a sandwich, and then a 4-hour presentation in the afternoon, those days are gone, thank goodness. I think it's going to be, an hour presentation and then breakout rooms and feedback and team and all this sort of thing, much more engaging and much more workshop based rather than just chalk and talk, I think, as well. But that's the plan, that's the idea. So you'll see when you come along in September anyway. But Kev, are you going back to sort of live events as well as the Zoom ones?
Not yet. I'm just waiting to see how. I'm sort of probably look at maybe the other side of September.
Yeah.
Once we're sort of we know where we're up to in the country.
Yeah.
I think we're steaming ahead. We're going I don't think there's any plans to get back into lockdown.
Yeah. I don't think so.
But plus we got to wait, find a venue. Our venue is not available at the minute, so
right.
The venue we've used for years isn't available. So.
Yeah. And when you do a seminar, I don't mean one for clients as a workshop, but a seminar, public seminar, what subjects are you covering? Is it sort of standard business builder, 5 principles, all that sort of thing? What sort of thing are you up to?
Yeah, the standard business builder, which is an introduction effectively to how to grow a business, and an introduction to business coaching. Yeah. But we've always done every month for our clients, we do a different workshop, business workshop, which is driven really by the clients. What are they asking about in the sessions? So they might be asking about marketing, they might be asking about sales, they might be asking about leadership or teamwork, things like that. And then we build the workshop to what they're shouting for at the time. And that's every month we do them.
How would you describe your, if you like, style of delivery? Because I think this is part of the what makes us unique is our ability to stand at the front of a room and engage with an audience, that sort of thing. How do you do that? What any tips and tricks there for you? How do you hold the audience? Is it humor? Is it stories? Is it engagement? What sort of things do you build into yours?
The one big thing I found in my early days was I was overthinking things, and when I was overthinking things, the focus was inward.
Right. Okay.
So I'm focusing in me, and I mustn't forget my words, mustn't get my lines right, mustn't miss that bit.
Right.
But what I found was if I focus on making eye contact with people in the room, so I'll look over to that, I get eye contact with someone for 5 seconds, then I'll move over here, perhaps, then I might be there, and it might be back over there, and I might, but once I make an eye contact, I can't be in my head.
Yes.
I'm looking at the person, and then it flows a little bit more, and because I'm a little bit more present, then perhaps. I can be more natural, and more natural. Me is playful.
Right. So, okay. There you go. Yeah. No, I get it. Absolutely. Yeah. And Gareth is going to come without audio. But what's your style, Gareth? How would you describe your workshop style?
What's my work? I don't know. You've been to one of my workshops. What would you say my style is?
Oh gosh, there's no pressure there. I think I think yours are. This is my observation. Are highly that they're a coaching style. You get people to do stuff, write things down, and actually, participate all the way through. Not just presentation then breakout. They're participating from the starts. All it's a high level of participation. I think would be the thing. Which I think is great.
I like audience, but don't come to my workshop if you don't want to. If you want to sit at the back and don't say anything, that's because I'll call you out on it. I like getting people involved because it takes the pressure off me a little bit there. Kev, that's an interesting technique, and it's a performance coaching technique as well. And a lot of elite athletes, because if you take footballers, if you take a defender, they say, I need to run, I need to track, I need to mark, I need to get back marks, blah, blah, blah. I need to do all these things, and then all of a sudden they don't do anything. But what they'll often do is, okay, if I can do these 3 things well, what would they be? And they can almost guarantee a baseline performance. If they say, right, if I tackle well first, then that's great. If I can track back, that's another great thing. And if I can, win the first header, I'm gonna have a good game. Yeah. And that's what we should do as well as elite coaches, if you like. On stage, I think it's a great performance coaching technique.
I think play to your strengths. I mean, Laura, you've done quite a lot of work with your previous or current careers as well, but on stage, speaking to people, being on TV, in the media. How have you sort of handled that? How do you handle the audience?
I'm naturally fairly present because of my height, and I take the piss out of myself more than anything, which helps. I've got a strong accent, which I then use, so I can be more direct than most. But the reality is, I'm often asked by people, how on earth do you do it? How do you engage hundreds of people? Or even in my case, I've done thousands of people and know your stuff. And I say, well, and I think this is the answer. If somebody were to ask you how, I don't know, what your children like, you can talk for 20 minutes without thinking. It's because you know your stuff very well. And I make it look easy, but reality is that I'm very well prepared.
Yes.
I know my stuff, and I'm prepared, and I even think, what kind of questions can I get? How would I respond to them? Because that also allows me to not to freak out if all of a sudden the audio goes down or the light goes down. I don't have to fret about it. And I guess being ruthlessly prepared, and obviously, and the more prepared you are, the more you can free will, because then you can always fall back. But I make it look easy, but it's because it's well rehearsed in the end.
So that preparation, this is an interesting one for everybody, is when you build a workshop or a seminar or a talk or presentation, how do you prepare? What do you talk to yourself in the mirror? Do you record it? Or how are you doing that to get that prep for yourself?
What I've learned is that, especially if for instance, you've got a media interview and you have no idea what they're going to ask. I've become a politician because I can twist literally every sentence and say, what you really want to know is, I answer that question. But I do rehearse. I do it literally as I brush my teeth. I say, what message do I want to get across? So it looks very fluent and just like that. But the reality is I have rehearsed that, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And like with everything, once you have, this is not showboating, but maybe it is slightly, to be perfectly honest. But
go for it. Go for it.
Let's go for it. The Channel 4 News with Jon Snow, famed for his very fancy socks and his tie, but also famed for being very critical. He invited a minister, or Channel 4 invited a minister who didn't want to come, and literally last minute said, well, he could somebody else who had nothing to do with this, but I knew something about the subject, and they were well peed off that they just had me. So they were quite prepared to put that, to make it very difficult.
Yes, make it awkward.
But what has happened, I survived that. And every single time, whatever I do, even if it's nothing to do, something completely related, I always think, hey, I survived that. I can survive everything.
Sure.
And I think that's what with, the more prepared you are and the more you've done it before, the easier it becomes. But ultimately, it comes down to knowing your subject.
That's a great point.
There is no shortcut to knowing your subject, whatever it is.
I think the thing as well, a lot of people get very nervous about being on stage or in front of people doing a presentation or a workshop. And I've seen you present a number of times. I know we know each other really well, and you're a very accomplished presenter. You hold a room with authority, and you have to prepare for it, but it looks natural. How would you advise people that are nervous about getting on stage or going in front of the camera, or even doing a Zoom like this to a certain extent? How would you advise them to deal with that? Because nerves affect all of us to a degree, but if somebody's particularly nervous, how would you guide them to get over that?
I had presenter shoes. And I always wore heels, despite the fact that I'm over 6 foot. But I had my family write notes in it, including myself near the bottom and so, and kick ass, you can do this, and all sorts of things.
Right.
And the second I stepped into it, I stepped into my persona. And that was it. And literally up, shoulders back. Poof, there you are. Stand firm. Make sure you protect. And it is acting to some extent, and that's what you did. But the one thing, I think it was Jerry Seinfeld who said that, people people worry more about public speaking than death. So ultimately, if
Yeah.
on a funeral, there'd rather be the dead guy than the guy who's speaking. And that is the thing. Most people in an audience, you're just glad it's not them.
Yeah.
And they never look at your stuff in a way the same way you do. I remember being worried about big earrings on television, although I'll never do that again. But also just think, people just don't look at that. People hear some bits, are distracted and everything else. They never look at you at much detail as you think they do, as long as you can hold the room. But in the end, it's stepping into shoes and knowing that you can do it. And it's the first 10 seconds is crucial.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do not stumble over your words the first 10 seconds. That's it.
Then you're
Off
right.
You go.
And I think again, for me, because I think we all get slightly nervous about doing events and seminars and workshops in front of an audience. And I've got to the point where if that Dave Holland guy, if he turns up and does what he's supposed to do, I'm going to be okay. And it is this sort of acting, and it's not a separate person, but I know what I can do when I'm on form, if you like. And if that person shows up, I can relax, and I get that person to show up, as you say, by preparation, by going through it, by running it through, by visualizing the whole thing, and then miraculously this bloke turns up who can do a pretty good presentation, so it's okay. But it is that preparation and confidence as well. But it's that separation, as you say, acting. It's like going into role. I think, if I'm on stage, it sounds very grand, but it's not me, the family dinner table. I'm not there. I don't talk like that when I'm at the dinner table, for goodness sake. It is an act. It's all part of the stage act. I have to get into character, I guess, for it as well. So okay. And Kev, you're a confident guy, and you with Sue as well. How do you deal with any nerves or anything like that? Do you have any preparation techniques you go through?
Yeah, I mean, very much the same in terms that I do practice it.
Yeah.
What I've found is that sometimes I do take crutches with me, i.e. notes. So I might have notes. If I've got a PowerPoint, I might have present a view on, and I've got notes in there. Having said that, twice I've gone to do a workshop, and where it hasn't worked, the equipment hasn't worked, and I haven't got my notes.
Okay.
Once I was LinkedIn local, doing a LinkedIn local thing, and it was like 150 people in the room, and I just knew it. At the end of the day, it was a crutch. But another time, the PowerPoint broke down, and I just did it all on flip chart, and that was my most successful in terms of signing clients, because I knew my stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, great. And Gareth's back. Excellent. Any tips for you when you're about preparation? I mean, you talk about being nervous. I know you were I know your sort of background a little bit, and you were parachuting into war zones and launching rockets and that sort of thing. Different level of confidence around that, I think. But do you still get nervous on stage, or are you sort of beyond that now with your background and experience?
I'm fine. I'll turn my video off just in case, but I'm absolutely fine until about 2 minutes before I start. And then I get really nervous. And once I start, I'm fine. So I think it's nailing the first paragraph of whatever I'm saying is absolutely key. And as long as I get that, it's like going back to that performance thing I was talking about with Kev, if I can get my first paragraph right, I know I'm going to have a good session. I love hecklers. I love people who heckle me. Keep it coming, because I'll play the game. And it's I don't really have a script.
No. Okay.
Although I do kind of have a handrail of a script, I think, is how I do it.
A process.
And I freestyle it after that. So
it's quite interesting talking about hecklers. We touched this. There's a guy, I think, Kev, you might know him, and Laura, you may as well. There's a guy, UK guy, lovely fella. He might come to the next one we do, I don't know yet. Called Mike. You won't mind me mentioning him. Mike Turbot, who was a friend, colleague, client, and he came along to some of the workshops, and he would sit in the middle of the room, and I'm talking about something, and he'd have pre-prepared cards he'd hold up with messages on them, and of course people would look at these cards, and this thing, he'd hold this card, and it was, we were in Telford doing this, held this card, and we just said, that's bollocks. It's like, great, thanks for that. And it was done from a point of love and humor. You get new people in the room who don't know Mike, they don't know me, and they've got the guy there holding up these placards saying that's rubbish. And he said, but I think you've got to be able to handle that, because people like Mike, he was not done out of spite. It was fun, but you've got to handle people in the audience when they ask you the pointed question or whatever it is, and handling hecklers. So Gareth, you say you look forward to hecklers. What sort of hecklers would you get, and how do you handle people who don't sort of go along with the script with you a little bit?
I think it's getting the awkward questions, you know. But the hardest one is the person who comes to the seminar and wants a ready-made business for their industry as they walk out the door. You know, and you know, you get the people who are, oh, that would never work with me, or you know, they want to ask really specific questions to their business, and I don't think that works in a workshop or a seminar. I think you've got to keep it quite generic, and I tend to bring it up a couple of steps to back to high level stuff. In order to answer the question, if that makes sense. And,
okay. But questions are good, aren't they?
The other thing is the fact tell, story sell. Yeah. I mean, everybody loves questions, but I think, you know, answering a question with a story is the way I like to do it. So that wouldn't work in my business, and interesting, because you know, X, Y, and Z client who did it and it actually really worked. So you know, who's the idiot now, type thing.
But I think this can turn the audience with you if you handle it well. The rest of the audience, they turn on the heckler if they do it in
they do. It's great. I love it.
I mean, Laura, you've done some big conferences, events. Have anybody ever heckled you or dared to heckle you from the stage?
I dared to heckle. Well, I disagreed, and I my standard response in that sense, but that's not just in conference, but in general life, is acknowledge their fear or worry or different opinion, and depending on what it is. And I don't, I won't go into debate with them, because before you know it, it's becoming a one-to-one, and you've got too many other people in the room.
Sure.
But I would acknowledge it and invite them for another talk, but more sort of, I would love to hear your point of view. I haven't, or something to deflect it. And then take it out of the room, which is not on a workshop.
Great phrase. I have a great phrase for that, which I say something along the lines of, so is this, and I open up to the audience and say, is this something that everybody's experiencing, or should we take it offline? And generally the audience will go, take it offline. And it's almost like you've coached them out of the situation, right? Because you're not saying, and you can take it out of the room and stuff. And I always find that works, is because I always say, well, look, if everybody's struggling with it, you know, let's tackle it. But I've got some other things that I really want to get to. You know, so that can be a great way to move the conversation, because you do get stuck in these one-to-one kind of debates almost, where it becomes all about that person, and then you totally disregard the rest of the room, and it all fails. So I have a standard phrase for that.
I think it's important not to disregard them, because otherwise you end up having one-to-one, but to acknowledge whatever it is, but just make sure that they are aware this is not the platform at the moment. If you ignore, deny their fear or whatever, or their worry or disagreement, then what they want to do is keep proving to you why that is, and you end up there. Whilst if you acknowledge, but then different platform, different moment, different person, or not different person, then most people just like to be acknowledged or heard, I've heard.
I've had occasions, I don't know, Kev, if you've had this as well, maybe, but I've had occasions where you do a seminar workshop. Happens in Luxembourg a lot, actually, compared to the UK. It's not a criticism of Luxembourg, but anyway, where somebody, they'll come to a seminar or workshop and they sit there, you know, arms folded, nodding, and after about half an hour in, they'll sort of put the hand up to ask a question, which is fine, and then they'll go, well, in my experience, I've found that this technique is, and they start doing a presentation back at me, and they have to sort of cut them off a little bit, because everybody in the audience knows what's going on, but they try and take over the proceedings because they think they know something bigger, better, brighter, and this sort of thing. and that can be really tough because you don't want to sort of upset them. But anybody else had that? Or was it just me in Luxembourg getting a new specialist turning up? You had those, Kev? Yeah.
Yeah, it did happen to me once,
Yeah.
and I said, well, what am I doing stood at the front of the room? You come to the front of the room, and I went and sat down and got them to stand up, and he didn't want to stand up.
I know exactly.
So, but the other thing with that, when you got the heckler, another way of taking it out, taking the sting out of that, if you've got other people in the room, that's a really good point you're making there. Right, at your tables, come up with 3 ideas for how X could fix that problem,
Yes.
and then everybody's involved in it, so it's not just you.
That's a great
idea.
Takes the heat away. Nicely done. Yeah, it takes the heat away. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
In terms of techniques for engaging, holding audiences, Gareth, you said you use a lot of stories, and I think that's something that I do. I think everybody uses stories to a degree. What are your thoughts around use of humor? Because I've seen this; it can either work really well or really badly. But do you use humor? Is it a good thing? Look, Laura, are you a funny presenter, or how do you get on with that?
It's always difficult to say if you're funny yourself, but I think I am. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm light, on light touch, but it depends on the situation.
Sure. Yeah, it depends on what the situation is.
Yeah.
Right. But do you think humor is a good technique to be able to?
Oh, absolutely. It breaks the ice. Laughter in the first couple of seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I did presentations typically when I said not presenting, but or when this was presenting rather than media work.
Yeah.
I always made sure that one of the first slides, and I had slides which were heavy on pictures and not on text, because otherwise what happens, people start reading it and they completely miss it. But I always had something which made people laugh, which was quite easy because 90% of the times I presented in the UK and I could completely take the piss that I was Dutch and therefore could get away with saying all sorts of things. So I'm just saying it. I mean, I gave myself permission. I wouldn't say swear, but be just a bit more. I straight away told them who I was, but with humor.
Yes, excellent. Okay.
So I gave them permission to laugh about me.
Yes. But I think that's part of the key. Like you say, because you're Dutch in the UK, you can get away with a bit of self-deprecation. You can pick on the Dutch if you want.
Yeah.
And I can do the same thing over here. I can pick on me. I can pick on the British because I'm British, and expats, all this sort of thing. And I remember I started a presentation in Luxembourg because everybody's an expat in Luxembourg. And I said, something like, good to see all the expats in the room. And sort of, this wasn't Luxembourg. Luxembourg would be immigrants, not expats, you know that. And of course, because expats, we call ourselves expats. We're all immigrants anyway. But you can get away with that sort of thing when you're in the right context. I probably couldn't do that in the UK because people think I'm talking crazy, I suppose. But anyway, humor is a good. I find it a good technique. Kev, humor one of your gifts? You're not a comedian, but use humor in your presentations.
I tend to have some. I'll have some light-hearted slides. I'll go along with the thing with Laura. It's very much my slides are very much photographs. A picture. A picture tells 1,000 words, paints 1,000 words, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
To get the picture right. I think that, like I say, when I become more present in the room, that the humor tends to come more naturally instead of I'm setting up I want to bring that piece of humor out each workshop. It doesn't tend to work that way. So it's more humor comes to me with the interaction with the room.
Yes, good point. I know I've seen people do a series of presentations or workshops on a tour or something, and they say the same jokes at the same time, regardless of the audience, regardless of the energy. Sometimes they get a laugh, sometimes they just fall flat, but they just continue on regardless. And I think that's a shame because then it just looks scripted and you might as well watch a recording. I think the humor should be engagement with the room, pick on situations or whatever it is as you go along. So, okay. Gareth, for you, stories, you have humor, good one for you as well, Gareth?
Yeah, I try to. I think don't make it seem though. I think that's the only rule is stay away from innuendo. I think that's my rule. But otherwise, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, I think the politics. We're going to go into the pineapple story in a minute. I'll tell you. But politics, religion, gender. Or you've got to be really not just careful. We wouldn't joke about it anyway, but you do have to be careful that you don't sort of offend and upset people, because you're gonna get it wrong. And I did an event over in some years ago. And I was over in Mexico, and we had half the audience was from Brazil. And half the audience was from Mexico. So the Mexican audience, Spanish speaking, spoke really pretty good English. The Portuguese speaking Brazilians, English wasn't that strong. So they got a translator for me. So I've got a translator in a booth at the side of the box here. And I'm talking away. And in the afternoon, they said to me, could I do some what they call English humor, which has got this reputation over the world. I don't know why, but anyway, English humor. So I dropped in a couple of jokes that I thought were hilarious. Anyway, so I'm telling this joke, and the Mexican audience, they got it and they smiled and they laughed gently. After about a minute later, the Brazilians all were crying with laughter. They really thought it was hilarious. I thought it was just the interpreter sort of keeping up with me as we went along. Anyway, finished off the day, went to, I said, thanks for telling that joke. And she said, your joke wasn't very good. So I made up my own and told it. So she told them a joke of her own in Portuguese that they thought was hilarious. Wasn't the one I told at all. So you've got to be real careful with thinking that we're funny when we're not. So, but I think humor in principle is a good technique to engage if it's done in, like, you can use like a human level, but it's reflected back into the room, self-deprecation and that type of thing as well works really well. But yeah, be careful with it. Be careful. I was thrown out of Toastmasters, by the way. Have you been to Toastmasters? Laura, been to Toastmasters, Laura?
No, for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I want to hear this story.
I know, but I was thrown out because I swore in my presentation, and the story I told, it was supposed to be a bit of humor, was my lad. I'll tell you now, it's real quick, but it was the part of the story was my lad Richard, who was only about 2 years old, and we're going for Christmas lunch at the grandparents' house. And this is obviously 25 years ago. And Lynn's mom is a lovely woman, very religious, Sunday school teacher, all this sort of thing. Very, very gentle, lovely people. Don't swear at all. Nobody swore at all. And so Richard sat there at the dining table, and family, there's about 10 of us, 15 of us around the table. And he pipes up because he's been going to, kindergarten, this sort of thing. And he says, Grandma, he said, I know what you can't say. And so, of course, she goes, really, Richard, darling, well, what can't you say? And Richard has been told this at kindergarten. He said, you can't say bollocks. And of course, which is absolutely true. So what must have happened, we found out some other child at kindergarten was using this word, and it got round, and they sat them all down and said, children, here's a word you mustn't say, or you can't say a forbidden word, whatever it was, and you can't say bollocks. That's the story I told. And for that, which I thought was reasonably gentle, I think, I was invited to leave Toastmasters. It was inappropriate behavior. So I left and never went back, and I thought it was quite good, but there we are. It was use of incredible. The module was use of humor in workshops, and anyway, so I didn't go back. There we are. So.
They clearly failed that test.
Exactly, but anyway, so it was reasonably gentle. I thought it could have been a lot worse, but still, there we go. So another thing, just I want to just cover off the use of PowerPoint. I think we all use PowerPoint to a degree. Top tips, Gareth. Use of PowerPoint, good? Yes, no, and how do you use PowerPoint in your presentation?
Yeah, echo what Laura said earlier about words on a slide. I think being from the military, there were all sorts of rules and regulations about exactly what can go on a PowerPoint and where the full stop goes, and your point size of your heading, and the font that you used, and the content of your PowerPoint was generally disregarded if you had a full stop in the wrong place. That was the thing. So I've grown to be quite picky with PowerPoint, but I think the optimum is no more than 30 words on a slide. I think I remember that rightly. Something like no more than 5 bullet points and no more than 30 words, I think. And I kind of try and stick to that. I use the PowerPoint as a handrail. More than reading from it, and I think that's the right way to use it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of I prefer a flip chart and a pen.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. And I think the flip chart and the pen is better with smaller groups, actually, because you can sort of develop the storyline as you're going along. I think when you're on, what I found with a flip chart is it's slightly more difficult to engage with the audience, as Kev was saying, with the eye contact. So actually, I think if you you don't read your slides and you're just talking about it, there's an image. I use images only pretty much. Then you can talk freely about it. That works really well. But I have seen, I mean, PowerPoint is misused a heck of a lot because it's this, they put graphs and charts and detail and structure and paragraphs on there. And oh my goodness, people are reading the paragraph. It's just crazy. So yeah, I avoid that. But Laura, you were saying you use sort of images and pictures only, or maybe a couple
Images,
of words?
pictures. My tips for use it sparingly. PowerPoint is to support your presentation. It isn't your presentation. Based on what Gareth said as well, be consistent with your fonts, because if I see something and has got 5 different colors and 4 different fonts, I just get my eyes are all funny. I can't even see what's on it. So, but it is there to support it, and I can understand that for some people it's their crutch. It will effectively be the nose that look at it and think, oh yeah, that's what I needed to say. Then you just need to prepare better, I would think. For me, it's just
I mean, for me, it should be, as you say, it's a support. It's the thread.
It's there to support it, and a bit of but nothing more than that. But and then again, but then you do need to know what you're going to say with them. But it all comes down to the same thing. Just prepare ruthlessly.
Preparation, absolutely. And Kev, PowerPoint, you're Kev, you use PowerPoint, I guess, but so any tips from you guys?
Continuity, consistency throughout. Make sure the font's the same. Make sure the logo's the same. Make sure you're using similar types of colours. But that idea of having everything on the slide and then turning around and reading it. Well, if I'm in the audience, I'm just thinking, why just give me it? I'll read it myself.
Absolutely.
I don't need you to read it for me.
I think that is probably the number one issue that a lot of presenters have, and we've all been to these presentations and seminars where some old boy's on stage, he puts the annual report, and the report's on the screen, and he stood there looking, he's reading the report. It's like, oh, God's sake. It's horrific, it's horrible, and obviously to be avoided. But I think pictures, images. Anybody, any tips and ideas getting around, not getting around, be careful what I say, using images that are free from copyright and that sort of thing? Any tips? I mean, we use Pixabay to get a lot of images which are free from copyright. Any tips and ideas there for images and pictures?
There are millions on the web. So.
Yeah. I mean, just be careful of copyright, but there's loads out there, or take your own, or that sort of thing, whatever. But just be careful with them. If you do use anything, obviously attribute it to the authors and that sort of thing. But 9 times out of 10, there's loads of stuff out there. So okay.
There is a way to search on Google Images for unlicensed images. There's a box you can check which is free for use.
Right.
Use that. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So any questions from anybody? Well, we've covered quite a bit of ground, but any questions around presenting, filling the room, use of the stage work, that sort of thing? Any questions? Any burning issues? Gosh, because we're all experts.
Oh no, not necessarily. Not at all. So I think in my case, every question sounds like a stupid question. But what would be your ideal time? The sweet spot between actually getting information in, but also not being too long. The balance between offering value, but not boring the hell out of them type of thing.
For me, I would go for no more than an hour presenting in anything. If it's a one-day workshop, do an hour, then you have a coffee break, and then a team thing. But for me, no more than an hour, because it gets boring. That's just me. So, Kev, how do you break your events and workshops up?
Yeah, similar sort of timings.
Yeah.
I mean, I think holding people's attention for over an hour is quite difficult. So somewhere along the line, when I'm approaching an hour, I'll get them doing something. I'll get them thinking for themselves and not me doing the thinking for them. So I'll throw a question out there, jot down your top 3 ideas on this or something like that.
But about an hour for you as well as the limit for content. Okay, great. Gareth, any tips from the
same. It's I think the optimum time, if you're going to get scientific about it, is 52 minutes minutes and then a 17-minute break. But I think somewhere along those lines is what I tend to do. Yeah, it's otherwise you get burnt out. The audience stop listening.
Absolutely.
It's just, yeah.
Whoever worked that out, the scientist who worked out it was 52 minutes, that's the person I do not want to go to the pub for a drink with, I guarantee.
It must be Fergo. It has to be Fergo, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Oh, God,
I think, and I think all of us, I think I've seen everybody present and all accomplished, and we can all hold the audience, but beyond an hour, I think it's still, even if we think we're doing okay, the audience are going to start checking the watches, where's the coffee, and I think we've got to keep it for our own sanity, keep it down a little bit, and then break out and do something else and engage as we go along. So yeah, about an hour I would have thought. Yeah. So anybody got any events coming up? Laura, any events for you? Are you got any seminars, workshops? Okay.
No. Not yet.
We can fix that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Kev, anything in your pipeline?
I've got a webinar coming up towards the end of the month.
Excellent.
Don't ask me the date. Don't ask me the date all the time.
They
just wheel me in.
Narrows it down a bit. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. But I'll have one this month.
Yeah. Is that a Zoom one, or is that a proper?
That's a Zoom one. I've got no live ones booked at the moment.
Okay.
So Zoom, and there's a client workshop this month because it's August.
Of course.
So there'll be 2 workshops or 2 webinars in September.
Excellent. Are you going to get? I mean, I know you need to find a location, as you said. Is going back to live events? Is that on your plan, or are you going to stick with Zoom? Do you think?
It is. The challenge well, for me is what I'm doing now in an hour and a quarter. I'm being successful with.
Yeah.
That used to be a 4-hour workshop.
Yeah.
Plus people had to travel to it. Then they got something to eat, and then they have to travel back. So effectively, a person was out of the business for the whole day. Yeah. Now they're out of the business for an hour and a quarter.
Sure.
So I don't know if people are going. People might want to go live, but are they prepared to still stick with this 4-hour workshop?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think on Laura's point, I do think people are champing at the bit to get out and be social again and meet and greet and have coffee and beer and that sort of thing. I think there's going to be a panic to get out there. Any seminar people will do it. Networking is going to start again. People want to be out and about, but then I think that the attention span's probably shorter than it was. So we'll see. Again, it's uncharted territory, but okay, great. Gareth, any events for you? You can publicize or talk about?
Yeah, I'm planning on my first in-person live events. I think first week of October I'm going for.
Fantastic.
So going to be a bit of a Q4 planning, I think. So nice. We'll see. I mean, I was in bed last night writing all this down. So it's early stages, but
has to start somewhere.
Exactly, you got to start somewhere. Exactly. Scribble notes. That's it. Scribble notes.
I'll be honest. I'm nervous about it because of people's perceptions. That's my block that I've got.
Okay.
Is I'm not sure how people are going to react to it, but I think I've just got to dive in and do it. So
exactly.
things going to happen
all
sometime.
do. I think so. I think you got to have this sort of confidence. I mean, the one we've got the one on Monday coming up, which everybody's obviously here welcome to come along to that one, and then we've got the live one in September. I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I'm quite a social creature as well, and it is nice to get across a desk from people and into the same room. So probably a personal thing as well, but I think people will want to be able to do that if we keep it light and bright. But time will tell. That's in middle of September up in sunny Birmingham. In fact, Wolverhampton, no less. How good's it got to get? Wolverhampton, Las Vegas, Paris, Milan, Wolverhampton. So
you need that on the side of your van, like Del Boy.
World tour, Las Vegas, Monaco, Wolverhampton.
We'd be one of them free-wheel vans like Del Boy.
The plastic pig, my goodness, never mind. Okay, any other questions, thoughts, observations while we're all hanging out together? No. Okay. All right. Well, I'm the barbecue. I can smell the barbecue, so I'm going to go and I'm going to have some.
Lucky you.
You see, this is it. This is all good. It's all good. So, well, guys, great to see you. Great to get Gareth. Good to hear you. And I know you're there in principle anyway. And I'll get this downloaded and recorded. I'll put it up onto the Athena Rays website, the YouTube channel, and you can have a look at it. And we'll be back next week, same time, same channel. I'll circulate it around. And hope to see you then. In the meantime, have a great week and keep me posted. I'll speak to you real soon.
Have a great week, all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.